Welcome to a true spiritual adventure story like the world has never known. Volume 1, Living the Enlightened Life, with your host, Dr. James Yogadhi Weldon. This whole journey is about developing the advanced state of consciousness, trying to find out answers to what the heck's going on in this life. It's entitled Meditation and a Spiritual Gift. It begins with a poem. The heart of my being, your touch is like sunshine. Your joy is like snow, gently falling all around. I am so amazed. How can it be that I ever lost you? Was it a dream? This ignorance, how can it be? I was lost in an endless dream. What foolishness took me away? I know not. All that I know is whatever I see now is only your glory. So at the end of last chapter, I ran into innocently a young lady who talked to me about meditation. And the very idea of meditation, just the words, it'd been like, boom, this huge energy had came into me at that time. What we see all around us is not all that there is in this universe. The universe has many layers and levels. And although you may not understand or be able to perceive this, there's a lot here working for our directions in our life. This whole world is really like a giant school, and we're passing through a lot of trials and tribulations. Obviously, many of them can be very painful and difficult. It's not required. The suffering is optional, but we are learning the lessons of life to appreciate and really live this advanced state of consciousness. And what I'm doing in this book and these writings is really trying to share directly what happened in moving into the direction of achieving those. What I have passed through is attainable and is real, and it's not just a figment of imagination. As soon as I returned to campus, I looked for a meditation poster for that one group. Fortunately, there is an introductory lecture coming up the next week. I wouldn't miss this lecture for anything in the world. And the speaker is a young man, a student like me in his mid-20s, who has just returned from a TM teacher training programs with the Maharishi in Mallorca, Spain. What impressed me was not so much what he said, but how he moves, the energy I feel. For me, there was definitely a feeling of spirituality there. A serenity and a vibrancy like incense fills the room. A mysterious but intangible light comes through him. As he talks, his hands dance like magic puppets, controlled by some mysterious form. I can't take my hands off those eyes. By the end of the meeting, I'm ready. I'm ready to learn to meditate. And the class is taught over 4 days with meetings scheduled during the evening. The only problem is the course is a month away, and I must wait until another teacher comes to town. My future instructor is taking teacher training class in Europe at this very moment. During the next month, I read a book called The Science of Being and the Art of Living. After reading the book, I'm so excited, I can hardly sleep at night. The month passes with agonizing slowness. The wait is literally painful, as every cell in my body tells me that this is the way I should go. I feel like a little kid waiting for Christmas, knowing somehow that his heart's desire is coming. Finally, the day comes to begin meditation, and the program is being held on campus in one of its classrooms. I'm supposed to bring 3 pieces of fruit, 6 flowers, and a new white handkerchief. These items are an offering to the tradition of teachers from which meditation comes. There's a short ceremony, something in Sanskrit, in which these are offered symbolically as gifts. Afterwards, I close my eyes, and I am given a Sanskrit mantra to use in meditation. Off I go. All the anticipation that I experienced beforehand is now gone. All I can feel is the sweet sound of that mantra in my head. Even though the initiation is given in a dirty classroom, I can almost feel the disruptive presence of the students that were there before. Now all of that is forgotten. First comes a warm tingling in my hands and feet. It's as if I'm being bathed in a shaft of warm sunlight falling from a window overhead. I even opened my eyes to look up to see where the light was coming from, but the room's dark. Then I drift off and I'm as if I'm going into sleep. In moments, slowly I'm falling in a deep tunnel full of joy. Far in the distance ahead, a faint glow. It is like looking at a wonderful painting for the first time, but I can hardly make out the details. All my perception of time disappears. I lose awareness of where and who I am. Occasionally, I feel the surroundings again, but the next moment they're gone. Slowly, the light inside grows brighter and brighter. It is as if I'm a candle suddenly flaring brilliance. The joy, the light is somehow so familiar, but I can't remember where I've seen it before. The next thing I know, my meditation is over. I did not even realize until I opened my eyes, but I had been drawn into that inner light and had merged completely with it. It happened naturally without effort. As I open my eyes, I feel wonderful little ripples of joy and energy running all over my body. It's as if I am a light radiating happiness out everywhere. I leave the building that day after my first set of meditation, carrying a piece of fruit and a few flowers in my hand, and I hear a voice. You will never be the same again. Staring around, I look startled, wondering where that voice came from, and realized the voice had come from the air. I had heard such prophetic voice before in my dreams. I know these words are true. I experienced the inexpressible. I will never be the same again. Overwhelmed with wonder, I slowly walk from the building. I see a world that I never knew before. I walk into a classroom filled with concerns. Now I walked out filled with light. Everything is so bright, so beautiful, so full of promise. The light reflects off the trees as if I'd never seen it before. As the birds sing, it's my song, it's my singing. At last, I'd begun the journey back towards my real home. Later that week, I realized that what came that day is a classic near-death experience. However, in meditation, I never felt any danger of dying. I see that the path that one follows upon death and the path to the inner illumination are one and the same. I remember reading a book about near-death experiences. The death one passes through a long tunnel full of light and joy. Yes, I experienced this in meditation. Then there was a feeling of communion with the divine. I experienced this in meditation. The joy and the light somehow experienced is so great that after a few months, anyone who touched it, they say, is unwilling to leave, would be willing to leave everything behind for a few more moments. I felt the same way in meditation. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's going to have this experience, but this is what happened with me. From the beginning, there's little support for my meditation. The teacher of my class leaves town. There's no group meeting to help me to understand what is happening. My friends don't understand why suddenly I don't want to drink beer, smoke pot, and party every night. For support, twice a week I join a class that's to do a little stretching and yoga. However, I'm so stiff in these stretching classes, I can't even sit down with my legs crossed. Yet every time after the postures and the deep breathing, the same thing happens. My meditation takes me to that place of light and joy again. After the class, I walk back to my little house with my head radiating like a beacon. A strange energy collects in my forehead on the point of this light. It's the greatest happiness I can ever remember feeling. Yet I know that I felt this before. A tiny drop of bliss moves in my mind from meditation, but soon problems come to challenge that joy. Isn't this the case? So what actually happened is my house is raided by the police for drugs. Several months previously, I'd set up a small greenhouse on my roof and I seeded it with a few seeds of pot. And those plants grew like crazy. Even though I'd given up pot, I forgot to dismantle the greenhouse. And our landlord comes to the house to collect the rent and sees that something mysterious is on the roof and promptly calls the police. While I'm gone on one weekend, the house is raided and everyone living there is arrested. Not me, because I'm not there. And they find drugs in all the rooms, and now there's a warrant out for my arrest. As soon as I return, I turned myself into the police. We were all charged with a misdemeanor possession and controlled substances and released. At this point, at that time in history, it was a much more dangerous thing. I should have accepted my fate, but it gets worse. My attorney advises me to plead not guilty. In conference, he suggests that I make up a story so that I will be found innocent. We discuss the details. And at the attorney's suggestion is that because I was not there, what can be proven? Foolishly, I take his advice and give the impression that I don't even live in that house in my statement. All my friends received probation and suspended sentences, and I'm found not guilty. Immediately, one of our housemates and his girlfriend turned state evidence against me, and now I'm in a much worse state. I'm charged with perjury. That means lying under oath. And the evidence is rock solid against me. What am I going to do? There's no escape. Things have been going so well since I started meditation. What am I going to do now? My grades are up. I'm happy for the first time. I can remember now I'm really in a mess. Even the attorney promptly takes steps to protect him. He brings out a big piece of paper and wants me to sign and say that he didn't tell me to do that. But there's nothing to do but wait for the trial. I can't think of any course but prayer and meditation. Often I'm wondering if what I'm experiencing in meditation can help. My meditation said that meditation gains you, quote, the support of nature to solve your problems. Mulling this over, I decide to take his advice. I pick a day when I want the case to be over and leave it to the power beyond my mind to solve the problem. Twice a day, I talk to God. Remember my little phone system that I had when I was calling my friends, checking in on them at the distance? Now I've got that imaginary phone system, and I say, okay, I'm in your hands. The trial date is set in 3 months. There's nothing I can do. I want this all to be over 2 weeks before the trial. If I must go to jail, I will. Finally accepting responsibility. Well, my life is yours now. Whatever happens, I will accept my fate. Immediately, I dropped my classes and returned home to Cocoa Beach. There's really nothing to do. I'm really too upset to study, and I would certainly be convicted if things continue on the same path. Twice a day, I meditate and slip into that light I've discovered. Twice a day, I turn my problems over to God at the end of every meditation. During the day, I hold the same attitude. Whatever comes, here I am, the happiest I've ever been in my life. And at the same time, I'm in the most serious personal crisis of my life. Exactly 2 weeks before the trial, my attorney calls me and he says, "It's all over." What do you mean? I'm flabbergasted. The charges were dismissed today, and the case was dropped by the district attorney. He said the 2 people that had turned state evidence against you were involved in a serious automobile accident, and one of them was killed. I'm absolutely stunned. The other is so upset by the accident that she is now refusing to testify. She has left school and does not intend to return to the area. I'm absolutely stunned. Never did I want this to happen. My only desire was to end the case quickly. Yes, I feel anger towards my friends, but never in my wildest dreams did I wish harm to them. Listen carefully, my friends. A real lesson about the power of the mind and faith and meditation comes this way. This is a very, very deep truth. I see that we're now all truly in the hands of the divine. A miracle happens when I connect with something larger in the universe than myself. I let go and put my life in the hands of the divine, and my faith had been changed forever. In so many ways, all my life, I had been resist the lessons of life and suffered tremendously because of it. Life for me, in many ways, up to this point, it was really a hell on earth. Now things are different. Now I see that there are no accidents in life. Even the most trivial and seemingly coincidental events are part of my education. Suddenly my world becomes a magical place filled with limitless possibilities. I see that even the greatest problems can be solved in a moment by a connection with the divine and faith, whatever you want to call that. Suddenly, my own heart and mind and the power within it are my most powerful allies. Things change quickly after this. So I give up cigarettes, mostly drugs and alcohol. My grades soar. My personal life is under control. I can have a relationship without becoming obsessed. The ecstasy that I'm experiencing in my meditation is better than, for me, sex. For the first time in my life, I can set a discipline and stick to it. All of this is done without efforts. I had tried for years to quit smoking and failing. The change comes because I feel so good inside that anything that disturbs that feeling automatically goes away. The same thing happens with drugs. I meditate, practice a little stretching yoga, come back feeling more ecstatic and high, by the way, than any of my friends find on drugs. It's incredible. My future swings in a few months from the certainty of jail to the possibility of success in anything that I might desire. I cannot wait to progress and learn more about meditation. But I wonder, how am I going to do that? Since there is no teacher in the area anymore. One day I receive a postcard in the mail. It's from the TM organization. It announces the first step, a 1-month teacher training course with its founder in Humboldt, California. It says, become a teacher of meditation and the science of creative intelligence. Says, I pack my bags and hitchhike with a single little handbag from Florida all the way to California to attend this course. Because there's no smoking allowed on the course, I'm finally able to break this terrible addiction. I realized that I'd saved so many years in my life by quitting smoking. I consider the implications and think, I can teach this meditation for 20 years and not lose a single day of my life. 6 months later, I take off for Switzerland for the second part of my meditation teacher training course. Soaring off the runway, I realize that plane is not taking off. It's me. My life is flying towards fulfillment. In 1973, I become a meditation teacher. For the next few years, I share that same simple meditation I learned with many people. At the time, the founder, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, because of his celebrity relationship in the Beatles and appearances on national syndicated television program, like the Merv Griffin Show, introduced millions of people to the idea of meditation. Millions are curious about that. At one point, over 60,000 people, they say, at month were learning meditation. I throw myself into teaching of meditation with a vengeance. Here is something that really changes people within. Every week, the same thing happens. I give a lecture about meditation to the curious. 90% of the individuals have no idea what meditation. All these people know is that someone is talking about meditation, and they're hearing it from some of their musical stars on TV, and they want to prepare it. In the middle of the lecture, something mysterious always happens. Quote, the mind is like an ocean. The thoughts arise from the source of thought, within which is the inexhaustible source of energy and intelligence. Like a bubble, thought passes through all these layers of existence until it reaches the surface of the mind, and we become aware of it as a thought. In meditation, we learn to dive to the source of thought and gradually become conscious of our entire existence. By doing so, we gain a deep state of rest, much deeper than deep sleep. As I speak about these experiences, gradually the joy and energy I feel within me moves throughout my body and into the room. As the talk progresses through each topic, around the room, the energy shimmers in the air. It's like little lightning bolts are shooting out of my hands, my heart, my mind, touching those that are receptive. The spiritual light in the room grows. This is something that I had been seeing since I was a child. And I'm saying by regular practice, the stress of daily living is eliminated, and the experience of meditation, which is the fourth state of consciousness, beyond our normal state of waking, dreaming, and sleeping, stabilizes and leads to a fifth state of consciousness known as cosmic consciousness. At this point, my My awareness recedes to a point of complete effortlessness. My mind, like a drop of water, merges into the ocean, reaches out in the room and engulfs everyone. The oneness that I feel is palpable. I begin to understand what advanced states of consciousness really are. And the same thing happens in my meditation. There, my mind is swallowed in silence, and gradually I lose awareness of the room, my body, even my personal identity. An ethereal light and joy radiates within me and gradually coalesces in my heart and forehead. The joy passes through these focal points and takes me into another universe where space and time, as we know, does not exist. In that space, the space of my life is everywhere. The time of my existence takes on the feeling of eternity. All of me mingles with a feeling of divine presence, like a tiny spring reaching the ocean. Thoughts come and go, bringing me gradually out of this space. When I return, every cell in my body somehow inspired and complete, swinging in light and joy. Over the months, the experience gradually grows, and the focal point between my eyes. I didn't know anything about chakras. Nobody ever heard of any of this. And in my heart comes, I read spiritual books, realizing for the first time that this is the opening of the third eye. This is the mystical center of vision that allows one to see truth, and it's coming into my life. I'm humbled when I realize that the secret journey has finally begun in earnest. After meditation, the day this cosmic feeling fades, when I'm meditating or speak about it, it grows and the experience grows in intensity. By the way, I want to give you a little side story. When I went to California, I thought I was going to become a teacher. I didn't become a teacher. And I hitchhiked across the entire United States. Did have the chance to meet some other spiritual en route. I went to a rainbow, connected with and met Prabhupada, the Hare Krishna guru, and didn't understand what was going on at all with him, and several other yogic teachers. I didn't understand what was happening with them. But when I made it to California to that class, and the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi came, I was the first person in line to speak, and I stood up, and he entered, and he looked at me, and he said, huh? And you know what I said? I said, Maharishi, I'm still alive, because I had come very close to death. I'd seen death. I could have been shot. I could have been shot by the police. So many things. I could have gone berserk. And now my mind was strong, stable. I was feeling at peace. So during that advanced course, we meditated for longer periods of time and practiced yoga. During the gatherings, my experiences deepened. So for the first time, I began to understand stages of advancing consciousness. So many things that were vague and frightening to me as a child that I was afraid to go into that place began to make sense. The world is full of individuals who only experience 3 states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. The waking state of awareness has activity. Dreaming has rest and awareness. Deep sleep has no awareness and rest. But with meditation, I discovered a 4th state of consciousness, transcendental consciousness, Turiya, which has the awareness of wakefulness, yet the deeper rest of deep sleep. And sometimes we slip into this state between waking and dreaming and sleeping. This is a source of our inspiration and creativity. In meditation, I learned how to gradually experience this state at will. Beneath all of these states is the universal cosmic consciousness. Practice like meditation, silence the continual chatter of the mind, and allow us to gradually tap into the experience of this cosmic consciousness. Cosmic consciousness is awareness that is behind all our superficial existence. This cosmic consciousness is everlasting, and I believed at this point that it was the doorway to intuition, bliss, and freedom. One of the characteristics of this freedom is that the consciousness always remains 24 hours a day. So what I'm saying here is that even though your mind is active, most of us, when we go to sleep at night, it's like the switch turns off and everything just goes back in and everything that we have is gone. Maybe we go into deep sleep and we wake up in the morning and all it comes back out again. There's an underlying consciousness underneath that, which is there all of the time. Someone can wake you in the middle of the night, you will wake up. And as our consciousness becomes stronger, we become more connected with the inner being. There's a continuum of awareness which remains. This book is about the attainment of that cosmic consciousness. There are states beyond that, God consciousness and unity consciousness. That's what I'm going to talk about later. So stay tuned. That I touched in that state in limited ways. I've been touching that cosmic awareness. Now I know that this consciousness was the first major state in living the enlightened mind. Cosmic consciousness became the major focal point of my life. Along with these deeper states of awareness, the subtle energies of my body became more powerful. In most of the people, these energies in the body are unfocused and chaotic. Light, which is everywhere, becomes disorganized. In a laser, it produces a completely new, intense beam of energy. The energies in my body became focused through meditation practice, and those energies pass through the body in very special, subtle pathways known as nadis. It is said that there are 76,000 pathways in the body. The nadis in turn converge and end at special places in the body known as chakras. At first, my chakras were diffuse, like light without a focal lens. I only feel them in sensations in my forehead and heart. The only time prior to meditation that I felt these centers were at the time of great emotions, usually negative. So when people feel, anger, they feel it there. If they feel hate, they may feel it here. If they feel greed, they may feel it in the stomach. When I felt angry, I felt pressure in the forehead. When I was afraid, I felt the chest or stomach. I was experiencing the chakras, but in a negative energy. I saw that the positive side of all these emotions, such as universal love and compassion, can only come through intense positive energies focused in these centers. And if your energies are diffuse, you don't experience these divine emotions. Developing the chakras fully through different spiritual practice can take many years. Once this takes place, the cosmic consciousness and the 24 hours a day awareness behind our life stabilizes, and then gradually over time, and it can take its time, the experience of the presence of God and the universe, unity beyond, becomes possible, just possible for the first time. Regardless of whatever state one has achieved, partial experiences of states of God and unity are always possible. Also, the latent psychic powers of the advanced states of consciousness are also partially possible. I learned later that partial development of such abilities without proper guidance along the way actually can be dangerous. I experienced that it can lead to various delusions and conclusion about the nature of the universe, which can easily limit our future growth. Like a country boy coming into Vegas for the first time, it is easily to become overwhelmed by the light shows, and lose one's way. The final goal of remains something so much greater and loftier that I was just beginning to sense. In 1976, after 3 years of teaching meditation, I attended an advanced course for teachers and 6 months at the international headquarters in Switzerland. My goal was completely spiritual, but I'm offered a BA and a master at their university, and it was quite a unique situation. Thank you for listening. What's really important about this is not the experience, not the events, really nothing about me, but we are really new in our understanding, especially in the West. And what I'm trying to do is provide a bridge in understanding between some of these experiences, and as far as I know, I've been through many or most of them. I'm amazed about that, to help people understand that these things are quite real, they're quite practical, and they are achievable, because we are really in a tremendous time of spiritual growth in the world. The Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was talking about at that time the dawn of an age, a new age, an age of enlightenment. That is continuing now. And we are really entering the time where large numbers of people are going to be practically experiencing these higher states. And there's a specific reason for this. These states are not an individual achievement. It's not like you do all your practices, your meditation, you do lots of good works, and then you go to the Enlightenment Bank, you turn that in, and bong, there it is. It's a process of group consciousness. And in the East, those cultures have been experiencing those advanced states for a much longer period of time. And in the West and around the world, they have not. So what actually happens is the consciousness of the whole community, the whole group of people rises. And as it rises, the potentiality of experiencing these kinds of things becomes possible. That's what's happening in the world. If you're feeling connected to this, I encourage you to seek out learning about how to experience proper meditation. There are many, many, many different types of techniques. And there are many teachers that can teach you successfully. Prayerful meditation, silence meditation, following the breath is aware. But for me, if I wanted to learn something, I would go to the best. And I've had the incredible good luck to spend many, many years under the guidance of spiritual teachers. And this is an art. The art of living is the art of experiencing the inner depth of your being. So I encourage you to do that. And we will continue our secret journey and discussion of living the enlightened mind. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And this is important because nobody that I know of has ever talked like this. I'm telling you what I've been through, the good, the bad, the ugly. So I thank you for taking the time to do this. I wish you all well. And may you have as my friends say, may you have a blessed day. Thanks for joining us in our YouTube channel, books, podcast episodes on Living the Enlightened Life, and autobiography with your host, Dr. James Yogadhi Weldon.